Hello chess lovers, Soren here, and in this video I would like to share with you a very dramatic game from 2018 Chess.com Speed Chess Championship. This game was played between Hikaru Nakamura and LevonAronian. But before starting our game, as usual, would like to warm up your brain. Please take a look at this position and try to find the winning move for black. Actually, there is a mate in 2. And by the way, this game is also taken from Nakamura's game. I will wait for your answer in the comment section. Back to our main board, and now without further ado, let's go for our game and see what happened on the board. Nakamura opened up with e4, and after Aronian responded with e6, he went for king e2. Look at this insane move, guys. White goes for Bongcloud attack, although I have to tell you that the pure Bongcloud arises after e4, e5, king e2. But in our game we have e6 and only then king e2. As Nakamura was leading in score in the bullet section, he decided to go for this joking move. But now let's see, will Aronian manage to quickly make use of this bad move? Aronian responded with d5, d3, knight c6, c3, knight f6, queen c2, e5, g3 and g6. Yes, black also wants to bring his kingside bishop on the long diagonal, but going for bishop c5 could have been better. The bishop on g1 a7 diagonal looks very active, can create for white more problems, but in our game after g3 we have g6. Black is like losing a precious time, meanwhile white is managing to consolidate his position. Bishop g2, bishop g7, knight f3, black castles kingside, rook d1, bishop g4, h3, bishop e6 and king f1. And after h6 we have king g1. Yes, white managed to castle by hand. And although still black has an advantage, but we can say that white managed to get out of that terrible position. Here comes a5, a4. Queen d7, black is connecting his rooks, also targeting the pawn on h3. That's why we have king h2, rook d8, rook e1. Yes, the only problem which white needs to solve is the development of his queenside pieces, after which white's position will be okay. We have d takes e4, d takes e4, knight h7, black is freeing the f-pawn's path. We have knight a3, f5, knight h4, white knight is targeting the pawn on g6. We have queen f7, e takes f5, g takes f5, bishop e3 and knight g5, although it was better first to go for f4. This looks a more ambitious try, but in our game we have knight g5, after which Nakamura played f4, stopped black's any possible advancements. We have e takes f4, bishop takes f4, bishop d5, black is offering an exchange of light squared bishops in order to weaken white's kingside. We have knight b5. In return, white is targeting the pawn on c7, bishop e4, queen f2, rook d3. Yes, black rook is penetrating white's camp in hope of finding weaknesses, and bishop takes c7. Although instead of bishop takes c7, it was better to think about neutralizing this rook either by playing rook e3 or rook d1, but in our game we have bishop takes c7 and bishop e5. Not the best continuation. Knight e5 looks a more promising try. Still, it was better to keep the dark squared bishop alive, and also in some variations black can start harassing white king by going for some knight f3 checks. But in our game after bishop takes c7 we have bishop e5, after which we have the exchange of dark squared bishops on e5, knight d4, knight c4, after which we have rook d1, and we see the exchange of rooks on d1, after which the light squared bishops also drop. Queen takes g2, although king takes g2 looks more solid. But in our game we have queen takes g2 and knight e3. Yes, queen takes g2 steps into this fork, although there is nothing wrong with white's position. But queen e2 is a mistake. Knight takes f5 could have been better. This allows white to create counter-attacking chances. If knight takes f5, then rook f1 is coming. And if queen takes f5, then knight takes f5. If knight takes g2, then knight h6 check, and then king takes g2. The players have equal chances, but in our game after knight e3 we have queen e2 and knight takes d1. Not the best continuation. f4 could allow Aronian to gain advantage. And now if you move away your rook, then f takes g3 is coming. And yes, if rook takes g3, then knight f1 check. And if king h1, then queen d5 check. But in our game, Aronian had it captured on d1, which actually allows white to fight back. Knight takes f5 is on the board, queen d7, knight takes h6 check, king g7. Right now, there are two nasty threats, that's why we have knight g4 and queen d5. h4, knight f3 check, king h3, which is a total blunder. In here it was better to recapture on f3 with the knight. If queen takes f3, then queen e5 check. And yes, actually, although black is a rook up, but white is managing to give a perpetual check. There is no escape from white queen, but after knight f3 check, Nakamura blundered, played king h3, which stepped into this deadly fork, after which we have a resignation. An interesting game, I think, although Nakamura managed to get out of that terrible position successfully, but as Aronian had a slightly preferable position, gradually managed to intensify the pressure and forced his opponent to make a mistake. Thanks for watching. If you liked this game, give the thumbs up. For more games, consider subscribing to my channel. Also, press the bell button to get notified about new uploads. I will see you in my next video.